Qing Yuanda took the bowl of medicine Qing Si handed to him and immediately drank it. Qing Si glanced at the books on the table and her eyes dimmed. She said, "Father, your health is not good. Don't waste your energy reading these books." Qing Yuanda shook his head. "De Fong is pressing me step by step. Only by developing a puppet that can attack autonomously can I make your great-grandfather take back his orders." Qing Si smiled bitterly in her heart. Even if her father could develop a puppet that could attack on its own, it would be impossible for her great-grandfather to change his mind. This was because her great-grandfather had clearly been restrained by the second branch. However, Qing Si did not say what she was thinking. In fact, she knew that Qing Yuanda might know this, but he was just deceiving himself. Now that De Fong was silly, crippled, and the number of people dwindling, if he didn't have any more thoughts, Qing Yuanda might not be able to hold on anymore. Therefore, Qing Si nodded and said, "What father said makes sense. Then you should continue reading. Just don't be too tired." Qing Yuanda nodded. After Qing Si left, he slumped on the chair in a somewhat dejected manner. If it was possible, he would rather Qing Si never return to the Qing family. When he thought of what his daughter would face, Qing Yuanda's eyes could not help but be filled with anger. Even if he died, he would not let his daughter be manipulated by his second wife. Qing Yuanda put away the books that he had placed on the table and picked up another book. It was a formation book. After Qing Si came out of Qing Yuanda's study, she went straight to the backyard. A few women were washing clothes. Qing Si and Rendong quickly went over to help. "I think you should take a look at Panda's novel." Kam Qing Si's mother, Zheng Shi, quickly said, Nan, there's no need for you here. Go back to your room and rest." Qing Si smiled and said, "Mother, I'm not tired. Hurry up and finish washing these clothes so that you can rest earlier." Panda's novel. Kam the other woman said, "Second sister-in-law, what's the point of saying all this now? Let's hurry up and wash. If we can't finish it, Yuan Han and the others won't have any medicine left." The two people who spoke were Qing Si's second aunt, Li, and third aunt, He. The Qing Yuan Han mentioned was the son of He. Second branch held the prescriptions of Qing Si's two uncles, three brothers, and two cousins, forcing the women of the eldest branch to finish laundry every day. Although the prescriptions of the second branch could not cure them, it could slightly ease their pain. Li Shi said mysteriously, "I heard that someone from the Lan family came." "Sister-in-law, doesn't your family have some indirect relationship with the Lan family? Why don't you go and ask the ancestor of the Lan family? Maybe it can help us escape from the sea of bitterness." Zheng Shi said with a bitter smile, "Let's not talk about the fact that my family and the Lan family are unrelated relatives. Even if they are legitimate relatives, the Lan family might not offend the second branch because of this. After all, the Qing family will belong to the second branch in the future." Li Shi said unhappily, "Who cares if he can do it or not? Let's give it a try. Otherwise, Qing Si will." When she saw Zheng Shi's pale face, she hurriedly tugged at Li Shi's sleeve. Li Shi was embarrassed and stopped talking. Zheng Shi stood up abruptly and said to Qing Si, Nan, mother will go in and change her clothes. After that, we will go to the guest house to visit the Lan family's ancestor." Mrs. Li hurriedly said, "Sister-in-law, you did the right thing. Nothing is absolute. Perhaps the ancestor of the Lan family would be kind enough to speak a few good words in front of the family head and let us get out of this predicament." Although he felt that the hope was slim, she felt that it was good to give it a try. What if it really could be done? She did not have any other extravagant hopes. As long as she could keep her husband and son alive, she was willing to do anything. Zheng Shi quickly changed her clothes and brought Qing Si and Rendong out of the main room. The three of them quickly arrived at the entrance of the guest house, but were stopped by the guards. "First madam, third miss, please wait." Zheng Shi said calmly, "The ancestor of the Lan family is a relative of my mother's family. Why can't I go in and pay a visit? Quickly move aside." The guard was in a difficult position. Although the Lan family had lost its power, it was still the master. He did not know how to respond. At this moment, a small leader walked over and said with a fake smile, "First madam, the second elder will hold a banquet to entertain the Lan family's ancestor tonight. You can pay him a visit when the time comes. You are not in a hurry, right?" Zheng Shi naturally understood the meaning of the small leader. He did not want her to meet the Lan family's ancestor alone. He did not want her to say anything that would harm the second family. Zheng Shi wanted to force her way in, but how could the mother and daughter be a match for these people? In the end, not only would they not be able to enter, they might even be humiliated. As for the banquet, they didn't even have the right to attend. Qing Si didn't say anything, because she felt that little Jiu should be coming back from the garden soon. Sure enough, she caught a glimpse of a few figures approaching from afar. They were Yun Chujiu, Qing Jin, and the others. Qing Jin and Yun Chujiu chatted awkwardly for a while, but they could not find any useful information. Naturally, they did not have the patience to deal with Yun Chujiu. "I think you should take a look at Panda's novel." Calm Yun Chujiu saw Zheng Shi and Qing Si at the gate of the courtyard. Her eyes deepened, but she did not say anything. Qing Jin frowned and said, "Aunt, why are you here?" Zheng Shi said lightly, "My family and the Lan family have some relatives, so I want to go in and greet the Lan family's ancestor." "Qing Jin, you came at the right time. Ask them to let us in." Qing Jin pursed her lips. "Aunt, the ancestor of the Lan family is an important guest. You'd better not go in and disturb him. If you want to pay your respects, we'll talk about it at the banquet. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and send Aunt and third Miss back to the main room." Panda's novel. Calm. This girl looked very unfamiliar, so she should be from the Lan family. Therefore, Zheng Shi did not care about her face and said in a fawning manner, "Miss, you are from the Lan family, right? Can you please send a message to the old ancestors saying that the younger generation of the Zheng family wants to see you?" Yun Chujiu showed a somewhat contemptuous look. "Zheng family? Why haven't I heard of it? Didn't Sister Qing Jin say so? If you have the heart to see me, we can talk about it at the dinner party." Qing Jin's expression became even more smug when she heard Yun Chujiu's words. The Lan family was not stupid, so how could they be close to them? Zheng Shi's face suddenly turned red. Although she had expected it when she came, she did not expect a junior of the Lan family to be so rude to her. At this moment, Qing Si stepped forward to support Zheng Shi and said, "Mother, let's go back." Zheng Shi gritted her teeth and shouted with all her strength, "Ancestor, Zheng Xiaonyang requests to see you." In fact, when Zheng Shi was talking to the guards, the Lan family's ancestor and elder Tua had heard it, but they were not prepared to pay attention to it, in case the two houses were suspicious. However, now that he sure was shouting so loudly, it would not make sense for her to pretend that she did not hear it. The Lan family's ancestor gave Elder Tua a look, and Elder Tua went into the courtyard and said, "Come in." "Lady." He immediately pushed aside the guards who were blocking her way and walked in with Qing Si and Rendong. Qing Jin stomped her feet angrily, but it was not good to stop them. She thought about it and decided to follow them in to take a look. At this moment, she heard Yun Chujiu say, "Sister Qing Jin, what kind of ointment is on your face? Why do I see that the scar seems to be a little deeper than before? Is it because of the sun?" When Qing Jin heard this, how could she still care about Zheng Shi? She glared fiercely at Yun Chujiu and left hurriedly with her maid. She probably went back to look at herself in the mirror. Yun Chujiu revealed a puzzled expression, shook her head, and then entered the guest house. In the guest house's living room, Zheng Shi and Qing Si were already kneeling on the ground. As for Rendong, he was taking a walk in the courtyard. Zheng Shi said with tears streaming down her face, "Old ancestor, I know it's a bit rash to ask to see you, but I can only ask for your help." The Lan family's old ancestor's expression was very cold. "Get up and speak." Zheng Shi saw the Lan family's old ancestor's expression and her heart instantly turned cold. She smiled bitterly in her heart. That's right, if she was the Lan family's old ancestor, she wouldn't have gotten involved in this mess. However, Zheng Shi still felt lucky and said, Ancestor, to tell you the truth, the family head has already been suppressed by the second elder. He is basically their puppet. I think you should take a look at Panda's novel. The male members of our big branch have met with misfortune one after another. They are stupid and disabled. The second branch is pressing on step by step. In a few days, the second elder will officially take over the position of the family head of the Qing family. At that time, everyone in our main branch will most likely lose their lives. The expression of the Lan family's patriarch did not change. He asked, What do you want me to do for you? After all, this is a family matter of your Qing family. It is not good for me to be involved in it. Zheng Shi heard this and, she knelt on the ground again. Patriarch, I do not expect you to save everyone in our main branch. As long as you can protect Nan Nan's life or send her to another continent, I am willing to give all the assets of the main branch to you in return. When Yun Chujiu entered, she happened to hear what Zheng Shi said. She could not help but sigh. This Zheng Shi was really good to Qing Si. How could she have the preference for boys over girls that Qing Si had mentioned at that time? Qing Si's eyes were red. She bit her lips tightly, her heart filled with guilt. Before the Lan family's old ancestor could speak, Yun Chujiu said with a smile, Auntie, don't make things difficult for the old ancestor. Miss Qing Si is a member of the Qing family. Our Lan family doesn't have the time to meddle in your business. Zheng Shi's face turned even paler as she looked pleadingly at the Lan family's patriarch. However, to her disappointment, the expression of the Lan family's patriarch didn't change at all. What little ninth girl said makes sense. It's not appropriate for our Lan family to interfere in your Qing family's matters. Please leave. Zheng Shi smiled bitterly and stood up. As expected, it was easier to add flowers to the brocade than to send charcoal in the snow. This trip had been in vain. Panda's novel. Qing Jean saw Zheng Shi's dejected look and could not help but sneer in her heart. She knew that the Lan family would not bother with them at all. However, her father had lectured her and insisted that she come back to keep an eye on them. Chapter 5270 The Past of Qing Si. It turned out that Qing Jean had run into Qing Yuankui on the way and had been scolded. She had no choice but to turn back. Qing Jean said a few sarcastic words. Seeing that Zheng Shi was about to collapse, she felt very satisfied. She proudly turned around and left with the maid. Mother, let's go back. Qing Si said lightly, but her right hand was tightly holding a voice transmission talisman. Just now, when she and Yun Chujiu passed each other, a voice transmission talisman was stuffed into her hand. Her heart warmed up. She knew that little Jiu would not sit idly by. The reason why she said those harsh words was to confuse the second wife. Qing Si accompanied Zheng Shi back to the main room. Li Shi and He Shi, who were looking forward to it, saw Zheng Shi's dejected look and knew that things did not work out. Naturally, they were very disappointed. Qing Si found an excuse to return to her room. Her hand trembled as she took out the voice transmission talisman. For a moment, she did not know where to begin. Fortunately, the voice transmission talisman started to tremble. Miss Qing Si, I'm sorry. I'll apologize to Auntie in the future. Quickly tell me, what exactly is going on? Qing Si's eyes could not help but heat up. She sorted out her thoughts and told her everything. Before Qing Si was born, the Qing family's eldest son was a male, so Qing Si was doted on by the eldest son. However, Qing Yuankui and Zheng Shiju said that the path of artifact refinement was too hard and was not suitable for girls, so they kept letting Qing Si learn artifact refinement. Not only that, they also said that girls did not need to train too hard and let her learn more zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting. In this way, Qing Si's cultivation level was naturally the lowest among her peers, and she often heard people laughing at her behind her back. In addition, Qing Luo and Qing Jin from the second branch would fan the flames by Qing Si's ears from time to time, saying that Qing Yuankui and Zheng Shi valued sons over daughters. Ching Si had some opinions about her parents, thinking that they valued her 3 older brothers and looked down on her. Ching Si was protected too well by Zheng Shi, so she did not understand the wickedness of people. Instead, she treated the 2 of them as good sisters. Qing Luo and Qing Jin took advantage of Qing Si's eagerness to learn how to refine weapons. They often brought her to the second branch's refining room to observe the refining process. Qing Si trusted the 2 of them even more. The 3 of them often went out to play, and each time, they would bring a handsome guard. Qing Si was simple-minded and did not care about this matter at all. When Qing Si was 14, it coincided with the clan's triennial competition. Therefore, the Zheng Shi and Qing Yuankui paid less attention to Qing Si. Therefore, when the guard sent a message to Qing Si saying that Qing Luo and Qing Jin had invited her to visit the mountains, she did not doubt it at all. However, she did not expect that it was not Qing Luo and Qing Jin who were waiting for her, but the fierce-looking guard. "Third Miss, you don't know, right? Now there are rumors that you and I are having an affair. Why don't we just do it?" Qing Si was obviously frightened. "Where are the eldest and second sisters?" "They will be here soon. Don't mess around." "Third Miss, you are really stupid. Do you think they don't know that I did this? If it wasn't for them, how could I have gotten close to you?" Although the guard was a little afraid that the eldest house would not let him off, Qing Luo and Qing Jin told him that a woman's chastity was the most important. As long as he was cooked, he would at most be beaten up. De Fang still had to marry Qing Si to him in the end. Thinking that he could have both beauty and money, the guard could not care about anything else. He immediately used force. Chapter 52-71, Qing Sis passed too. For a moment, Qing Si felt as if she had fallen into an ice cellar. She wanted to send a message to her parents, but the forest they were in was forbidden to use talisman seals. For a moment, there was no way out for her, so she could only resist desperately. Fortunately, she had many life-saving spiritual artifacts given to her by Qing Yuankui. Although there was a huge difference in strength, she still managed to stagger into the depths of the forest. She did not know what kind of formation she had accidentally fallen into, but when she opened her eyes again, she had already arrived at the Qing Xian continent. However, her cultivation base had been greatly damaged, and there was almost nothing left. If it were not for the few remaining spiritual tools and talismans on her, she might not have been able to see Yun Chuzhou in the future. After experiencing such a huge change, she had become unable to trust anyone. That was why when she first met Yun Chuzhou and the others, she had said that she had run away from home because her family valued sons over daughters. Of course, Qing Si was still a little unconvinced. She felt that her parents did not let her learn how to refine weapons and did not let her cultivate properly because they looked down on women. That was why when she first met Yun Chuzhou, who was also a woman, she chose to be close to Yun Chuzhou. Countless times, she was glad that she had made the right choice. If it were not for the fact that she was close to Yun Chuzhou, not to mention her cultivation level, at least it would be difficult for her to walk out of the haze of being framed by Qing Luo and Qing Jin. Moreover, the Yun siblings had given her the same kind of friendship as family, allowing her to no longer be as fearful and uneasy as before. To be honest, she felt that she might not be able to return to the heavy cloud continent in her lifetime. After all, the Qing Xian continent's level was too low. However, she didn't expect that because she got to know Yun Chuzhou, she had obtained countless cultivation resources and fortuitous encounters. Hence, she was able to quickly ascend to the immortal origin continent. Just when she was full of confidence and thought that she might be able to return to the great firmament continent in a few years, the Qing family's second branch found her. They used Qing Yuankui and Zheng Shi's lives to threaten her, so Qing Si could only submit. After Qing Si returned to the Qing family, she saw the tragic state of the eldest branch and couldn't help but blame everything on her youth and ignorance, thinking that she had harmed everyone. In fact, this matter had nothing to do with Qing Si. Even if she did not go missing, she would not be able to turn the tide. However, Qing Si was a little obsessed and felt that it was all her fault. After listening to Qing Si's simple story, Yun Chuzhou comforted her, in life, who has not been a fool a few times. So, let the past be the past. Qing Si, Miss Qing Si, puzzled. How did the second branch find you? And why did they insist on bringing you back? What are their intentions? I don't know how they found me, but I know the reason why they brought me back. Because of my special constitution, they wanted to give me to Xian Ji of the bitter Zen sect as a furnace and a cauldron, Qing Si said with a sneer. Yun Chujiu almost threw the voice transmission talisman on the ground. What was that? Xian Ji. A furnace and a cauldron? Wasn't Xian Ji a monk? I only found out the truth after I came back. Back then, my parents didn't let me learn how to refine artifacts and didn't let me cultivate diligently because I had the body of a mystical lady. If my cultivation reached a certain level, people would easily see through my constitution. Body of a mystical lady? Yun Chujiu had read relevant records in some ancient books. It was said that if a man who had sex with the body of a mystical lady cultivated some secret technique, his strength would greatly increase. Miss Qing Si, don't be afraid. As long as we work together, we will definitely be able to break the current predicament, Yun Chujiu said resolutely. After listening to Qing Si's words, Yun Chujiu had basically deduced the truth of the matter. The second branch of the Qing family probably unintentionally found out about Qing Si's special constitution, so they used this as a condition to get Xian Ji's help. Of course, Qing Si was only one of the chips. The second branch of the Qing family probably also offered a lot of spiritual weapons, such as the torrential rain Yama needle in Yuan Guang and Yuan Jis hands. As for what happened to Qing Si's uncle and brother, it was naturally related to the bitter Zen sect. Just as Yun Chujiu was thinking, Qing Si sent a voice transmission talisman again. Little Jiu, I believe you. What should we do next? Qing Si recalled that when she applied for the Linghua sect a few years ago, no one thought highly of their Qing Yun group, but they still managed to get into the Linghua sect in the end. In this world, there was nothing that little Jiu could not do. It was Qing Si's good fortune to be able to meet little Jiu. There's no rush, I'll think about it again. Oh right, how are my grandfather, brothers, and sisters? Yun Chujiu asked somewhat nervously. Her homesickness became even more timid. Although she knew that regardless of whether it was the Qing Xian continent, the Tian Yuan continent, or the immortal Yuan continent, all of her forces existed, and her relatives should be safe and sound, she was still a little worried. After all, the Divine Devil Hall would not give up on their evil intentions. They might even take action in secret. Qing Si said in a teasing tone, don't worry. Your gigolo arranged things very well. Not only did he send people to protect us, but he also gave us a lot of cultivation resources. However, Grandpa Yun is old and has limited talent, so he can only stay in the Tian Yuan continent. Sister Chu Wu and the others have already ascended to the immortal Yuan continent and entered the Han Yuan sect and the murderous Yuan sect respectively. With the title of Little Ancestor Yun, everyone is living very well. When the Qing family found me, if I didn't take the initiative to leave with them, they wouldn't have been able to take me away by force. Yun Chujiu was both happy and confused. The pretty boy had arranged this. Why didn't she know? This tsundere always did some things silently without telling her. I think you should take a look at Panda's novel. Yun Chujiu's heart welled up with a trace of sweetness. When she thought about how Yun Xiaotian and the others were doing very well, she couldn't help but feel happy. She felt that Qing Gu really didn't come for nothing this time. Yun Chujiu chatted with Qing Si for a while more before putting away the voice transmission talisman and thinking about her next plan. The matter was a bit tricky. She had to make a good plan. Otherwise, Qing Gu would be easy to defend and hard to attack. The Zen sect might not be able to attack in time. It would be best if she could outsmart them and not waste a single soldier. This guy decided to think of a plan after the dinner. After all, the second branch of the Qing family couldn't figure out the old fox's arrangements at the moment, so they wouldn't act rashly. Thinking of this, Yun Chujiu took out Di Baiming's voice transmission talisman. She wanted to ask Ching Si about the matter, but she was disappointed to find that the voice transmission talisman was still unable to be sent successfully. Obviously, Di Baiming's location did not allow it. This fellow could not help but feel a little disappointed. She took out her speech book and looked at it. There was no other way. Her spiritual power had already reached its saturation state. It was useless to cultivate any further unless she was struck by lightning. Gowei Butsao, who was in his boots, let out a sigh of relief. It was a close call. It was a close call. Fortunately, the evil star's voice transmission talisman could not be used. Otherwise, it would be exposed. Panda's novel. Come night, hurry up and come. It could not wait any longer. Go Wei Ba tale was going to stir up the entire Green Valley. Soon, it was time for the banquet. The ancestor of the Lan family brought old Tua and Yun Chuzhou to the venue of the banquet. Qing Shaoqing came up to them and said, Senior Lan, please take a seat. The ancestor of the Lan family naturally would not turn the tables. After exchanging a few pleasantries, he still sat on the guest seat. Qing Shaoqing asked the juniors to greet the ancestor of the Lan family one by one. Yun Chuzhou realized that the big house was not attended by anyone. However, it was also true that the family scandal could not be exposed. Qing Shaoqing naturally would not make things uncomfortable for himself. The ancestor of the Lan family also tactfully did not ask, as if he did not know that the Qing family had a large house. However, he did not expect that Qing Yuanda would bring the Zheng Shi and Qing Si in before the banquet had officially started. Qing Shicheng's expression immediately turned gloomy. However, he could not chase the three out in front of outsiders, so he could only pretend to be concerned and said, Panda's novel. Qing Yuanda said lightly, Thank you for your concern, second uncle. I'm already better. With an important guest coming, it's not good for our eldest house to avoid meeting him. Qing Shaoqing was annoyed, but he could not say anything. Qing Yuanda walked to the front of the Lan family's ancestor and bowed. He only greeted him politely and did not say anything else. Qing Shaoqing was slightly relieved. Although he was sure that the Lan family would not get involved in the affairs of the Lan family, he had other plans, so it was better to not cause any trouble. After the three of them took their seats, the banquet officially began. After a while, Qing Yuanda raised his wine glass to toast the ancestor of the Lan family. His pale face became a little ruddy. His hand trembled slightly as he said, Senior Lan, I heard that the younger generation of the Lan family has many talents, and most of them are not married yet. I intend to marry the Lan family. What do you think, Senior? I think you should take a look at Panda's novel. Kam Klang. The wine glass in Qing Yuanqi's hand accidentally fell to the ground. Although it did not shatter, the sound it made Qing Shaoqing frown. Qing Shaoqing was furious and quickly scolded, Yuanda, aren't you being a little too abrupt? How can a child's marriage be child's play? Qing Yuanda said with a slight coldness, My parents have passed away, and my grandfather has been in seclusion all year round. What's wrong with me, as a father, arranging a marriage for my daughter? Yun Chuzhou sighed in her heart. Qing Yuanda and Zheng Shi were really good to Qing Si. Whether it was the deliberate cover-up when she was young or the desperation at this moment, they were all for her safety. She thought of her parents who were locked up in the Zen sect and felt a little bitter. She did not complain, but she felt that her life was too bitter. She did not enjoy the love of her parents in both her past and present lives. Therefore, she turned her bitterness into motivation and began to eat and drink. The ancestor of the Lan family said with a smile, The daughters of the Qing family are precious. Of course, the Lan family would love to have them. However, we cannot rush this matter. We will talk about it in detail when we have time. Qing Shicheng's eyes flashed when he heard that. He couldn't figure out the true thoughts of the ancestor of the Lan family for a moment. He said with a smile, Senior Lan is right. Marriage is the best way to marry two families. Naturally, we have to be cautious. His words were obviously a pun, implying that the ancestor of the Lan family would be the second son of the Qing family in the future. There was no benefit in marrying the eldest son. Qing Yuanda sat back in his seat with some disappointment. If the ancestor of the Lan family could agree to the marriage, at least Qing Si would be able to avoid the disaster. However, judging from his appearance, it was probably just a perfunctory response. However, for the sake of his daughter, he could not give up no matter what. From the looks of it, this was the safest way. Qing Si's face remained expressionless. She looked at He Xinjiu, who was fighting with the chicken drumstick, and silently thought to herself, bear with it. Little Jiu will think of a way soon. Everything will be fine. At this moment, there was a commotion outside. A guard hurriedly ran in, ignoring the presence of guests, and said, "Second elder, something has happened." Qing Shicheng's face immediately darkened, and he said unhappily, "Can't you see that there's a distinguished guest present? What's the point of panicking?" The guard's legs went soft from the shock of Qing Shicheng's gloomy face, and he directly knelt on the ground, saying in a cowardly manner, "Second elder, please forgive me. This matter is urgent, and I've been rude." Only then did Qing Shicheng's expression ease up a little, and he asked, "What exactly happened?" Now that the entire Qing family was under his control, what else could happen? Thinking of this, Qing Shaoqing picked up the teacup and pretended to be calm. "Second elder, I don't know why the sky-shaking crossbow was activated by itself and destroyed more than half of the spiritual artifacts in the warehouse." Before the guard could finish his words, the teacup in Qing Shicheng's hand fell to the ground with a clang. He suddenly stood up and stared at the guard. "What did you say?" The guard was frightened by Qing Shicheng's malicious eyes, but he still repeated, "I don't know why the sky-shaking crossbow was activated by itself and destroyed more than half of the spiritual weapons in the warehouse." Qing Shaoqing only felt a buzzing sound in his head. The sky-shaking crossbow was the most powerful treasure of the Qing family. Since the sky-shaking crossbow had already given birth to a Qi Ling, there was no way to forcefully recognize it as its owner. Therefore, it had been placed in the warehouse. The Qing family's warehouse was strictly guarded. There were 5 checkpoints, so they were not afraid of being stolen. However, why did the sky-shaking crossbow suddenly go crazy? And it even destroyed all the spiritual weapons in the warehouse. At this moment, Qing Shaoqing was not in the mood to pretend to be polite with the ancestor of the Lan family. After hurriedly apologizing, he rushed to the warehouse. He Xinjia's eyes flashed. She did not have the self-awareness of being a guest and followed behind. The ancestor of the Lan family and Elder Tua looked at each other and shamelessly followed. "I think you should take a look at Panda's novel." The Qing family was in a mess. Qing Shaoqing and the others were even more confused. No one paid attention to them, so the 3 of them swaggered behind to watch the show. Qing Yuanda began to cough violently. Although the family business had been swallowed by the second branch, it was still the legacy left behind by their ancestors. When he heard that more than half of the spiritual artifacts had been destroyed, how could he not be anxious? Zheng Shi patted his back gently and comforted him, "Perhaps the matter isn't that serious. Husband, don't worry." Qing Si thought to herself, could it be that little Jiu did this? This way of doing things was too much in line with little Jiu. However, she didn't know how little Jiu did it. Thinking of this, she said to Qing Yuanda, "Father, if you are worried, let's go and take a look, Panda's novel." Thus, Qing Yuanda immediately brought Zheng Shi and Qing Si to the warehouse. At this moment, Qing Shaoqing and the others had already arrived at the storeroom. When everyone saw the messy storeroom, they could not believe their eyes. Although the spirit weapon was powerful, it had to be activated in order to unleash its full strength. If it was not activated, its sturdiness would not be very good. In addition, the heaven-shocking crossbow was the Qing family's most treasured home. It was an offensive immortal weapon, so the scene could be described as a mess. What made them the most confused was that the heaven-shocking crossbow was still in its attacking state. It seemed like it would go crazy again at any time. Qing Shaoqing saw the state of the heaven-shocking crossbow and was so scared that he took 2 steps back. Although he was confident that he could dodge the attack of the heaven-shocking crossbow, it was still a little difficult for him to be unharmed. Panda's novel. Qing Shaoqing really did not understand how this heaven-shocking crossbow had gone mad. That's right, he felt that there was something wrong with the weapon spirit of the heaven-shocking crossbow. Otherwise, it would not have destroyed many spirit weapons for no reason, and it would not have shown the attitude of attacking the members of the Qing family at this moment. There was only one way to deal with the crazy weapon spirit, and that was to throw the heaven-shocking crossbow into the refining furnace and refine it again. However, in this way, the quality of the heaven-shocking crossbow would definitely be greatly reduced, and it might even be completely destroyed. How could it suddenly go mad? The reason why the heaven-shaking crossbow went mad was naturally because Go Weiba had done it. Before He Xinjiu went to the banquet, Go Weiba had already sneakily hid in a corner of the house. After Yun Chujiu left, this fellow shook its leaves. The sky had turned dark, and the happy time that belonged to its Go Wei Batsao had arrived. Di Baiming, that fiend, would soon expose it, so it had to do as it pleased and make as much trouble as it wanted, so that it would not let down this good time. Anyway, the smelly girl wanted to deal with the Qing family, so no matter how ridiculous it acted, the little girl would not be angry. Moreover, it was useless to be angry, because she did not know that it was Go Weiba who did it. Therefore, Go Wei Batsao used the cover of the night to run around the Qing family. Its body was too small, and it was very agile. Therefore, even though the Qing family was heavily guarded, this fellow quickly went to many places. This fellow even dared to stay near the banquet hall for a while. The grass leaf placed its hands on its waist and laughed proudly in its heart, "Stinky girl. The baby is right here. If you have the ability, come and beat the baby." This fellow entertained itself for a while and felt a little bored, so it continued to hop around. It soon discovered the heavily guarded warehouse, but this so-called heavily guarded warehouse was of no use to it. The Qing family's warehouse was not set up with a formation, so Go Wei Batsao smoothly slipped through the crack in the door. Go Wei Batsao jumped on the spirit tool and soon saw a giant crossbow. I think you should take a look at Panda's novel. Go Wei Batsao had recently started to learn to read in secret in order to get rid of the title of illiteracy. As for the effect, so far, it had recognized more than 10 words. This guy did not know the word jing, and did not know the word crossbow. He only recognized the word tian. He immediately shook the leaves of the grass. This stupid thing dared to call it tian. It was really shameless. Even its dog tail did not dare to call it Go Weiba. This stupid thing actually dared to call it that. It really did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. It really overestimated itself. In its anger, Go Wei Batsao grew taller. With its hands on its waist, it pointed the leaves of the grass at the heaven-shocking crossbow and cursed. The weapon spirit of the heaven-shocking crossbow had been in a dormant state. Coincidentally, it woke up at this time. Although it did not know what Go Wei Batsao was saying, it looked like Go Wei Batsao was scolding it. As the most precious treasure of the Qing family, although the heaven-shocking crossbow did not recognize its master, even the second elder did not dare to speak ill of it. This damn thing actually dared to scold it. The heaven-shocking crossbow was immediately enraged. Hence, it smashed towards Go Wei Batsao. Go Wei Batsao nimbly dodged the heaven-shocking crossbow, and its little bad temper immediately flared up. It was Go Weiba's fortune that it was willing to scold it. It actually dared to beat it. It was really rebellious. Hence, Go Wei Batsao used the grass leaves to whip the sky-shocking crossbow, wanting to send the sky-shocking crossbow flying. The sky-shocking crossbow never expected that this damn thing would actually dare to whip it. It was momentarily careless and was sent flying by Go Wei Batsao, slamming into the wall. The sky-shocking crossbow was also angry. It immediately shot an arrow at Go Wei Batsao. Chapter 52-76. The aggrieved heaven-shocking crossbow. Goei Batsao saw that the heaven-shocking crossbow was shooting at it, so he immediately shrunk his body again and deftly avoided the arrow. After he dodged the arrow, he proudly hooked the grass leaves towards the heaven-shocking crossbow. He was as arrogant as he could be. The heaven-shocking crossbow had never been provoked like this before, so it immediately shot another arrow. Goei Batsao once again perfectly dodged the arrow. It proudly twisted its body, almost making the heaven-shocking crossbow explode in anger. The heaven-shocking crossbow did not care about anything else. One arrow after another was shot out. It did not hit Goei Batsao, but it accidentally injured many other spirit weapons. The heaven-shocking crossbow was bent on killing Goei Batsao. How could it care about this? The guards outside did not have the key to the storeroom. By the time their leader arrived and opened the door to the storeroom, it was already a mess inside. Goei Batsao took the opportunity to sneak out of the storeroom. The heaven-shocking crossbow followed behind angrily, scaring the guards into hurriedly closing the storeroom's door. The heaven-shocking crossbow was about to explode in anger. Were they blind? Didn't they see that damn thing sneak out? Therefore, when Qing Shaoqing ordered people to open the storeroom, the crossbow was ready to attack because it saw a faint purple light flash in the distance. That damn thing must be hiding there. However, when the crossbow saw Qing Shaoqing and the others, it slightly recovered from its anger and did not forcefully rush out of the storeroom. Qing Shaoqing saw that although the sky-shocking crossbow was in an attacking state, it did not have any intention of attacking him. Only then did he feel slightly relieved. He said angrily, "Sky-shocking crossbow, what are you doing?" The sky-shocking crossbow was originally very angry. Now that it saw that Qing Shaoqing actually questioned it, it immediately fired an arrow at Qing Shaoqing. Although Qing Shaoqing dodged the arrow, he was also half-dead angry. He said angrily, "Sky-shaking crossbow, if you don't restrain yourself, I can only throw you into the crafting furnace and reforge you." The sky-shaking crossbow could not help but tremble. This was what the tool spirit feared the most. Once it was reforged, the tool spirit would also die. It was angry and aggrieved in its heart. It was clearly not to blame for the matter, so why should it be scolded? The crossbow wished it could use its crossbow to turn Qing Shaoqing, who had wronged it, into a hedgehog, but it did not dare to do so. At that moment, Qing Si felt the voice transmission talisman in her storage ring vibrate. She used her sleeve to hide the sound of Yun Chujia's voice coming from inside. "Miss Qing Si, this is a good opportunity to subdue the crossbow. You can pacify it with a few words and say that you can help it take revenge. It will definitely acknowledge you as its master." Qing Si's heart skipped a beat. She quietly glanced at Yun Chujio, who was standing not far away, and walked to the front of the crowd. "Heaven-shocking crossbow, I know that you have been wronged. As long as you recognize me as your master, I will help you take revenge." Qing Si's voice was not loud, but her tone was very determined. The heaven-shocking crossbow was so touched that it was about to cry. Finally, there was someone who understood it. Just acknowledge it as its master. It did not want to be controlled by others. It felt that freedom was more important than anything, even though it was just a crossbow. At this time, Qing Jin screamed sharply, "Qing Si, are you crazy? You actually want the sky-shaking crossbow to acknowledge you as its master? You really overestimate yourself." Qing Shaoqing also said unhappily, "Qing Si, why aren't you stepping down? Don't cause trouble." Qing Si said lightly, "Second elder, as long as you are a member of the Qing family, you have the right to fight for the sky-shaking crossbow to recognize you as its master. How can I be considered as causing trouble?" Qing Shaoqing was choked by Qing Si's rebuke. Indeed, as long as it was a direct descendant of the Qing family, they all had the right to make the sky-shaking crossbow recognize its master. He was about to flare up when he caught a glimpse of the three ancestors of the Lan family standing not far away. He could not help but frown. Why did they follow him? He could not help but blame his subordinates in his heart for not stopping the members of the Lan family. In fact, this was not the fault of his subordinates. The three ancestors of the Lan family had followed Qing Shaoqing closely. They thought that Qing Shaoqing had acquiesced, so they did not stop him. Qing Shaoqing suppressed the anger in his heart and said coldly, "Now that you have tried it, and the Sky Cataclysm crossbow has no intention of acknowledging you as its master, you can leave now." Qing Si bit her lips and felt a little unwilling, but the heaven-shocking crossbow clearly had no intention of acknowledging her as its master. Could it be that she could only give up? At this time, the voice transmission talisman in her sleeve trembled again. She sent her spiritual sense into it, and after hearing what Yun Chuzhou said, her expression froze slightly. Then, she said to the heaven-shocking crossbow, "The heaven-shocking crossbow, I always thought that you were the most special, but I didn't expect that you didn't even have the courage to acknowledge me as your master. Forget it, I misjudged you." The sky-shocking crossbow was already extremely angry. Now that it was provoked by Qing Si's words, it immediately became even angrier. Just as it was about to fire the crossbow at Qing Si, it heard Qing Si say, "Si, I'm just feeling sorry for you. As a divine weapon, you've been staying in the warehouse all this time. Isn't it too sullen? Moreover, from the looks of it, you've suffered a lot. Don't you want to take revenge? Moreover, my cultivation is so low. I might die one day. When that time comes, you'll be free." After Qing Si finished speaking, she stared at the heaven-shocking crossbow nervously. These words were naturally taught to her by Yun Chuzhou. She could not think of these words by herself. However, could this work? The sky-shaking crossbow was somewhat persuaded. Yes, it was in the warehouse and didn't have much freedom. It might as well acknowledge this little girl as its master. Looking at her weak appearance, it wouldn't be able to do anything. Thus, the sky-shaking crossbow suddenly shrunk and flew into Qing Si's hand. "I think you should take a look at Qing Si," recalled Yun Chuzhou's instructions and immediately bit her index finger, dripping blood onto the sky-shaking crossbow to prevent any more trouble. Thus, under everyone's stunned gazes, Qing Si contracted the sky-shocking crossbow. Qing Shaoqing was so angry that he was about to vomit blood. What? The sky-shocking crossbow actually acknowledged Qing Si as its master. Qing Si was going to be given to Xian Ji as a furnace and cauldron. In the future, she would definitely not be able to escape the fate of death. When that time came, wouldn't the sky-shocking crossbow benefit Xian Ji? However, now that she had already contracted the sky-shocking crossbow, even if he was furious to death, there was nothing he could do. If he had known that the heaven-shocking crossbow was so easy to deceive, he would not have waited until now. It was really too late to regret. Qing Jin's face was filled with jealousy. She wished that she could snatch the heaven-shocking crossbow. She should not have listened to her elder sister in the first place. She should have just killed this bitch right away. Qing Yuanda and Jing Shi were both surprised and happy. No matter what, with the heaven-shocking crossbow, their daughter would have an additional means of self-protection in the future. This heaven-shocking crossbow was much more powerful than the King of Hell's needles. At this moment, the Gowei Batsao hidden in the distance was instantly thrown into chaos in the wind. It was over. It was completely over. That heaven-shocking crossbow had acknowledged Qing Si as its master, and Qing Si was the smelly girl's friend. Wouldn't it be exposed? Gowei Batsao was so regretful that it wanted to bang its head against the wall. If it had known this would happen, it would not have provoked that idiot, the heaven-shocking crossbow. But now, it had raised a stone to hit its own foot. It was simply too stupid. Gowei Batsao thought to itself, no matter what, it should run first. Perhaps that idiot, the heaven-shocking crossbow, would not tell Qing Si the truth because it cared about its face. So, Gowei Batsao sneaked into an ant hole. After leaving the courtyard, she ran back to Yun Chuzhou's courtyard. After the contract between Sky-Shocking Crossbow and Qing Si was completed, Sky-Shocking Crossbow was stunned to find that Gowei Batsao was gone. Qing Si was very happy at this time. She asked, "Why did you attack the other spiritual weapons just now? Where is your enemy?" It'll help you take revenge. The heaven-shocking crossbow wanted to tell the truth, but after thinking about it, it felt a bit embarrassing to say it out loud, so it snorted coldly and said, "I'll settle my own matters, don't bother yourself. You'd better mind your own business, little weakling." Ching Si, however, she wasn't angry. As time went by, people's hearts would be revealed. In the future, she would slowly subdue the heaven-shocking crossbow. She thought to herself, let's see. She knew that there was nothing that little Jiu could not solve. Little Jiu only needed to tell her a few words to subdue the heaven-shocking crossbow. She would definitely be able to help her deal with the Qing family's second branch. However, she did not know what method she used to anger the heaven-shocking crossbow. Little Jiu was really powerful. Qing Shicheng's depression could be imagined. Not only did he lose a lot of spiritual weapons, but he also lost the heaven-shocking crossbow. He was simply extremely unlucky. How could this perfectly fine heaven-shocking crossbow go crazy? He could not help but look at the Lan family's ancestor suspiciously. However, he denied his own suspicions. The Lan family's guards had been arranged elsewhere by him, and the 3 members of the Lan family were all under his nose. There was no chance for them to make a move at all. "I think you should take a look at right now." His heart was in a mess, and he did not have the mood to feign civility with the Lan family's ancestor. He said perfunctorily, "Senior Lan, I've made a fool of myself. I still have to clean up this mess. We'll have a banquet to talk about it another day." The ancestor of the Lan family said with a faint smile, "You're too kind. Since that's the case, I'll return to the guest house first." After the ancestor of the Lan family finished speaking, he left with Elder Tua and Yun Chuzhou. When Qing Si saw that they had left, she tugged at Zheng Shi's sleeve. Immediately, the 3 of them left as well. What a joke. If they stayed here, were they going to wait to be cleaned up? Qing Shaoqing looked at the backs of the 3 of them with a gloomy face. If Qing Si was not useful to him, why would he spare the lives of the people from the main branch? However, as long as Xian Ji took her away, the people from the main branch would die. Qing Shaoqing shook his head. They don't know how to split themselves, so they didn't have the chance to make a move. Moreover, this storehouse is heavily guarded. If they did it, it's impossible not to alert the guards. Then what's going on? The sky-shaking crossbow can't be crazy, right? That girl Qing Si is really lucky. Qing Yuankue said with a hint of jealousy. Qing Shaoqing gritted his teeth. First, tidy up the warehouse. Then, send people to search the surroundings carefully to see if there's anything. Father, then should we make a move against the Lan family's patriarch and the others now? Qing Yuankue asked. Qing Shaoqing pondered for a moment. This is a very important matter. Let's try again. If the risk is too great, we don't need to take the risk for the sake of the bitter Zen sect. Yes, father. Gowei Butsao trembled as it hid in a corner of Yun Chuji's bedroom. It felt that a great disaster was about to befall it. However, it discovered that there was nothing unusual after Yun Chuzhou returned. Could it be that the heaven-shocking crossbow did not report it? However, it thought about it again. This wretched girl had many tricks up her sleeves. Perhaps she did it on purpose. It could not be fooled. Therefore, Gowei Butsao was afraid for the whole night, but it did not get Yun Chuji's anger. It finally put its heart back into its stomach. It guessed that it was right. The heaven-shocking crossbow loved to save face, so it did not say it out loud. It had to be said that that idiot finally did a good thing. After knowing that it would not be exposed, it began to feel a little smug. Not only did he destroy many of the Qing family's spiritual artifacts, but he also allowed Qing Si to obtain the heaven-shocking crossbow. Go Weiba had made another great contribution. Unfortunately, he could only be a nameless hero and silently contribute. He was really too great. Yun Chuzhou was completely unaware of Gowei Bakeo's inner drama. After she woke up, she did not wake up. Instead, she pondered over her next step. If she didn't want to fight head-on, she had to find the Qing family's second son's weakness and hit him with one strike. However, what was the Qing family's second son's weakness? Yun Chujia's eyes suddenly lit up. The master of the Qing family, Qing Haotian, was still alive. It was very likely that he was under house arrest or controlled by Qing Shaocheng. If she could save him, the Emperor of the Narrow Sky would order the vassals, and then she could take the initiative. Thinking of this, Yun Chuzhou immediately contacted Qing Si with a voice transmission talisman and obtained some useful information, such as Qing Haoshan's appearance, residence, and so on. In the corner, Gowei Batsao was suddenly energized. Oh my, it was time for Gowei Batsao to make a contribution again. This guy's idea was very simple. He felt that the more contributions he made, the lighter the punishment he would receive in the future. This was called atonement for his sins. Therefore, Gowei Batsao did not care that it was still daytime. While Yun Chuzhou was thinking of a solution, it slipped out through the crack of the door. I think you should take a look at Gowei Batsao was very smart. It made full use of the bushes, ant holes and other cover, and was not discovered by anyone. Gowei Batsao was so proud that it was almost floating. How could it be so outstanding? How could it be so outstanding? It was so powerful that it was not human. Well, it was not human in the first place. It was a unique grass. When it saw a cluster of mushrooms when it crawled through the grass, it immediately shook its leaves. It was neither as cute as Xiaomogu nor as pretty as Xiaomogu. Where did it get the courage to embarrass itself here? So, it directly tore the cluster of mushrooms into pieces. This guy played as he walked and finally arrived at Qing Haoshan's courtyard. There were many guards outside Qing Haoshan's courtyard, which could be said to be heavily guarded. Pandas novel. The courtyard was very large, with rockery and flowing water. The scenery was very good. However, Gowei Batsao was not interested in it. Just as he was about to jump from room to room, he heard footsteps from outside. Gowei Batsao hurriedly hid in the grass and sneakily looked outside. The person who came was Qing Shaocheng. He directly entered a room. Gowei Batsao thought about it and did not dare to take the risk to enter. Instead, he leaned against the window to eavesdrop. "Father, your son has come to pay his respects to you," Qing Shaocheng said with some ridicule. Immediately after, an old voice said, "Get lost. I don't have a son like you, you beast." Gowei Batsao thought that the old man who spoke was probably the current master of the Qing family, Qing Haotian. Qing Shaocheng said with a fake smile, "Father, your blood flows in my body, so even if you don't admit it, I'm still your son. Don't worry, as long as you hand over the position of master to me in 2 days, it'll be filial to you in the future. Of course, it doesn't matter even if you don't announce it. After all, once you die, the position of family head will still be mine." You beast. Qing Haotian was obviously very angry, and his voice was trembling. Qing Shaocheng changed the topic. "Father, I came to tell you that the sky-shaking crossbow has acknowledged its master." "What? The sky-shaking crossbow has acknowledged its master? Who has it acknowledged?" Qing Haotian was obviously very surprised. He did not care about anything else and asked directly. Qing Shaocheng sneered twice. The heaven-shocking crossbow actually recognized Qing Si as its master. It seems that the weapon spirit of the heaven-shocking crossbow is also an idiot. It actually chose the weakest trash. Cough cough. Cough cough. Good, this is the will of heaven. You racked your brains to get the heaven-shocking crossbow, but it was taken by that girl Qing Si. Good, this is really wonderful. Qing Shaocheng was so angry that his face turned ashen. He snorted coldly and said, "So what if she got it? In the end, she still has to obediently become a furnace, a cauldron. You beast. You're not human. How could I raise such an ingrate like you? You'll die a horrible death." Qing Haotian scolded loudly. "Father, you'd better save your strength. I didn't come here to listen to you scold me. Although the heaven-shocking crossbow is not ordinary, it's far from being comparable to that thing at the back of the mountain. If you tell me the secret of the back of the mountain, I won't kill those people from the main branch. Otherwise, none of the people from the main branch will be able to live. Those are your grandchildren. You won't leave them alive, right? Qing Shaoqing said coldly. The back of the mountain? There is nothing at the back of the mountain except for the mountain forest. Don't waste your strength. Qing Haotian said with a sneer. I think you should take a look at nothing. If there's nothing, why did that girl, Qing Si, go missing all those years ago? And why did she appear on another continent? Is there a teleportation array or some kind of spiritual weapon there? Qing Shaoqing asked. If you have doubts, you can send people to search for her. Evil creature, good and evil will be reaped in the end. You imprisoned your father and murdered your relatives. You will die a horrible death. Good, very good. Since you refuse to accept my offer, I will deal with you after I take over as the family head. At that time, I will kill all the people in the house one by one in front of you. Let's see if you will still be stubborn. Qing Haotian was so angry that he coughed and cursed. The faint sound of chains could be heard. Gowei Batsao thought to himself, could it be that the old man was chained? At this moment, Qing Shaoqing said again, oh right, the master of the Lan family is a guest in the mansion. Yuanda, that idiot, still wants to become in-laws with the Lan family. What a whimsical idea. The master of the Lan family is here? Qing Haotian asked in surprise with a hint of surprise in his tone. Father, do you still expect the master of the Lan family to save you? To tell you the truth, they may not be able to leave Green Valley alive. What do you mean? Do you want to attack the Lan family? Qing Haotian exclaimed. You don't have to worry about that. You'd better think about the things in the back of the mountain. Qing Shaoqing sneered. I've said it before. There are only mountains and forests in the back of the mountain. If you don't believe me, you can send people to search. After saying this, Qing Haotian didn't say anything no matter what Qing Shaoqing said. After a while, Qing Shaoqing angrily pushed the door open and walked out. Gowei Batsao was so scared that he almost fell off the windowsill. Fortunately, Qing Shaoqing was so angry that he did not pay attention to anything else. After Qing Shaoqing left, Gowei Batsao slipped through the crack in the door. There was only a big bed in the room, and an old man was trapped on it with a chain. The old man was described as thin as firewood. His eyes were dark and gloomy, and he looked like he was about to die. Gowei Batsao sighed in his heart. This old man was really miserable. However, it could not save him. Firstly, it did not have much spiritual power left. Secondly, even if it broke the old man's chain, the guards outside would not let him go. Gowei Batsao sneakily walked around the house and did not find anything else. It shook its leaves and sneaked out. When this guy sneaked back to Yun Chujia's courtyard, Yun Chujio was not there. Instead, she went to the Lan family's ancestors' courtyard. Patriarch, as you can see, the second branch of the Qing family clearly doesn't have good intentions. If we don't take the opportunity to kill them, once they completely take control of the Qing family, they will definitely be a hidden danger for us, Yun Chuzhou said. The Lan family's patriarch's face turned cold. He knew that Yun Chuzhou was right. Pandas novel. Calm, you are right, but the Green Valley is easy to defend and hard to attack. Moreover, the Divine Devil Hall and the Bitter Zen sect might even lend a helping hand. Even if we join hands with the Zen sect, we might not be able to win. Moreover, the guards we brought with us have been placed elsewhere by the Qing family. If we really fall out with them, I'm afraid we won't be able to protect ourselves. Yun Chuzhou blinked her eyes and said, Old ancestor, let's not fight them head-on. Let's try to outsmart them. Outsmart them? How? The Grand Ancestor asked in puzzlement. I think you should take a look at, isn't Qing Haotian still alive? I think he's most likely controlled by Qing Shaoqing. If we can save him, things will be much easier. Although the Qing family is now controlled by Qing Shaocheng, there must still be a direct descendant of Qing Haoyan. When the time comes, we will work together from the inside and the outside. It will be much easier to take down the Qing family, Yun Chuzhou said with a smile. The ancestor of the Lan family shook his head. You think too simply. Since Qing Haoyan is controlled by Qing Shaocheng, there must be many guards. How can we easily save him? Yun Chujia's smile became brighter. We don't have to look for him ourselves. The opportunity will soon appear in front of us. The ancestor of the Lan family was even more confused. What do you mean? Qing Yuanda wants to marry us, so he will come to you soon. You have to meet him out of courtesy, don't you? When the time comes, leave this matter to him. As the head of the big house, if he can't even meet Qing Haoyan, then he is too useless. Yun Chuzhou curled her lips and said. This guy thought to himself, Miss Qing Si, I'm sorry. In order not to expose our relationship, I have to let uncle suffer. The reason why Yun Chuzhou did not tell the Lan family's patriarch about her relationship with Qing Si was that the Lan family's patriarch was a suspicious person. If he knew that she and Qing Si were old acquaintances, he might cause unnecessary trouble. Before the Lan family's patriarch could speak, there was a commotion outside. One could vaguely hear Qing Yuanda coughing. The ancestor of the Lan family and elder Tua looked at each other. This troublemaker was really smart. The ancestor of the Lan family did not go out immediately. After a while, he asked Yun Chuzhou to go out and deal with it. When Yun Chuzhou came out, Qing Yuanda was in a confrontation with the guards. Qing Yuanda's face was red, obviously very angry. But in the past, he could back down, but for his daughter, he would do his best. Uncle, the old ancestor wants you to go in, Yun Chuzhou said indifferently. The guards looked at each other and had no choice but to let Qing Yuanda into the courtyard. Qing Yuanda nodded gratefully at Yun Chuzhou. Yun Chuzhou could not help but feel a little bitter when she saw the slightly fawning look on Qing Yuanda's face. It could be said that this Uncle Qing had done his best for Miss Qing Si. Panda's novel comer mission was to prevent them from disturbing the old ancestor and Qing Yuanda conversation. Sure enough, a moment later, Qing Yuankue came over with Qing Jin. Yun Chuzhou arrived at the gate of the courtyard with a smile and said, Uncle, Sister Qing Jin, are you here to see me? Qing Yuankue and Qing Jin's faces stiffened slightly. How could they answer such a shameless question? Could it be that they were not here to see her? Qing Yuankue squeezed out a smile and said vaguely, We're here to see if you and the master of the Lan family need anything. Let's go in and talk. Yun Chuzhou immediately clapped her hands, giving Qing Yuankue and Qing Jin a fright. Was this stupid girl crazy? That's great. Uncle, I have something to ask of you. Yun Chuzhou said excitedly. I think you should take a look at. Although Qing Yuankue wanted to go in immediately, but Yun Chuzhou blocked the door of the courtyard. Now that they had not fallen out, he could not force his way in. He could only ask patiently, What is it? Miss Yun, please tell me. I want to visit your warehouse. Yesterday, I only saw a little bit of it, and I was already very shocked. The Qing family of the Valley of Fog really lives up to its reputation. I've never even heard of many spirit weapons. Yun Chuzhou said with envy. Qing Jin said with a little bit of pride, Of course. In terms of refining weapons in the Chongshao continent, our Qing family believes that we are second. No one dares to claim the first place. Oh right, didn't that sky-shaking crossbow go crazy last night? It destroyed a lot of spirit weapons, right? I feel sorry for you guys. Yun Chuzhou said with a sigh. Qing Yuankue and Qing Jin's expressions immediately became a little ugly. This wretched girl had mentioned every single thing. She was really detestable. Qing Yuankue didn't want to continue wasting time here with her. He said, Miss Yun, the warehouse is an important place of our Qing family. It's not convenient for outsiders to visit it. Let's go in and talk. Coincidentally, I have something to discuss with the head of the Lan family. Yun Chujo moved aside and said, all right, let's talk inside. Qing Yuankue could not help but feel puzzled. Could it be that this stinky girl did not deliberately stop them here? If she deliberately stopped them, why did she let them in so easily? Qing Yuankue did not have time to think too much. He hurriedly entered the house, only to see Qing Yuanda come out in a daze. He looked at him as if he wanted to eat him up. Qing Yuankue was secretly happy. It seemed that Qing Yuanda had hit a wall. However, it was also true. If the head of the Lan family had some brains, he would not support the eldest and the second branch to go against each other. After Qing Yuankue entered, he said a few words perfunctorily and then left. Yun Chujo looked at his and Qing Jin's backs and curled the corners of her lips. These two idiots probably did not know that there was a thing called a sound transmission talisman in this world, right? Yun Chujo knew that Qing Yuanda needed some time to think of a solution, so after she greeted her ancestor, she returned to her own courtyard. Gowei Batsao had already hidden under the bed, and she was thinking of how to tell Yun Chujo what she knew. It could not speak, and it could not write. It was really a worrisome weed. This fellow could not think of any solution, so he simply gave up. Anyway, she already wanted to use Qing Yuanda to save that miserable old man. It did not matter if she told him or not. As for the secret of the back mountain, it was probably useless to the wretched girl. It did not matter if she told him or not. Hence, Gowei Batsao was at ease and nestled under the bed. That evening, Yun Chujo received news from the Lan family's patriarch. Qing Yuanda had thought of a solution. Yun Chujo immediately went to the Lan family's patriarch's courtyard. Qing Yuanda didn't say what he thought of, but he promised that he could see Qing Haotian alone. What are your plans next? Said the Lan family's patriarch. Yun Chujo rolled her eyes. Let's wait for him to see Qing Haotian first. We have to know Qing Haotian's trump card before we can decide on the next step. The Lan family's patriarch also had the same idea. If Qing Haotian didn't have any trump cards, then he had to reconsider whether or not to get involved in this mess. After the discussion, Yun Chujo returned to her own courtyard. As soon as she entered the courtyard, the voice transmission talisman began to tremble. Yun Chujo lowered her head and saw that it was from Di Baiming. This fellow was delighted and couldn't wait to send his spiritual sense in. However, before that, she cut off her spiritual sense connection so that Di Baiming's words wouldn't be heard by the silly cuties and Guai Chao. After all, she was also a shy girl. Although the silly girls and Guai Chao could read Yun Chujo's thoughts, there was a prerequisite. I think you should take a look at if Yun Chujo cut off her spiritual sense, it would not be able to see what was outside, and it would not be able to read Yun Chujo's thoughts. Little Jiu, I forgot to tell you something. Your spiritual beast is that Gowei Batsao. After Yun Chujo heard it, she gritted her teeth. No wonder she always met with some inexplicable things. It was all the work of Gowei Ba. This cheap grass. It actually learned how to save a small treasury. No wonder it was always better than acting cute to get her to let it out. So it was like this. Gowei Batsao under the bed was trembling. Although it did not know what Di Baiming said, it had a bad feeling that the fiend was most likely to complain. Yun Chujo temporarily put the matter of Gowei Batsao aside and asked, Prince Charming, Qing Si told me that not only did you send people to protect them, but you also gave them a lot of cultivation resources. Why didn't you tell me? Very soon, the voice transmission talisman began to tremble. Di Baiming said indifferently, Your matters are my matters. Your family is my family. I do things for my family, do I need to take credit for them? Yun Chujo curled her lips. This tsundere was getting better at talking. The two chatted for a while more, and Yun Chujo put away the voice transmission talisman. She rolled her eyes and resumed the spiritual connection with Guai Chao. Guai Chao was terrified. It felt that it was doomed this time. At this moment, it heard Yun Chujo muttering to herself, Sigh, I hate people who lie to me the most. If I find out who is lying to me, I will kill him. Upon hearing this, Guai Chao immediately began to tremble. The leaves of the grass were about to shake off. It's over. It's over. This stinky girl must have already known that it had stolen the small treasury. What should it do? Otherwise, it would just refuse to admit it. At worst, it would not sneak out in the future. However, this stinky girl firmly believed in that fiend. Even if it did not admit it, it probably would not be able to do so. Why not confess and ask for leniency? Guai Chao was frightened for a long time, but he did not hear what Yun Chuzhou continued to say. Instead, he lay on the bed and read his script. Guai Chao thought to himself, could it be that she was not talking about it when she said those words just now? But she was referring to something else? No, if she was talking about someone else, why did she have to talk to herself? And she was speaking so vaguely. Guai Chao's heart was in a mess. It was so conflicted. Yun Chuzhou glanced at it and sneered in her heart. Go Weiba, let's wait and see. Guai Chao had been scared all night and its leaves were drooping. This kind of inhuman torture was too unbearable. She might as well beg for a quick death. This guy decided to turn himself in. Therefore, when Yun Chuzhou woke up, she saw a blade of grass kneeling on the ground. When Gowei Butsao saw that Yun Chuzhou had woken up, not only did it greet her with a bough of grass leaves, but it also kowtowed continuously with its grass ears. Yun Chuzhou was angry and amused at the same time. This cheap grass could bend and stretch. She did not know who it learned from to be so thick-skinned. I think you should take a look at Yun Chuzhou pretended to be surprised and covered her mouth as she said, Oh my god, Go Weiba, I didn't let you out either. Why did you come out? Gowei Butsao cursed in its heart. This stupid girl deliberately teased it. She obviously knew everything, but she pretended to be like this. It was really too hateful. However, the grass was under the eaves and had no choice but to lower its head. It could only fawn and act cutely from the bottom of its heart. Its fawning look was simply unbearable to look at. Yun Chuzhou looked at Gowei Bukao's fawning look and felt that she shouldn't have named it Gowei Butsao back then. She should have called it a lackey. She snorted coldly, Good, Gowei Butsao, you are quite capable. You actually have the ability to save a small amount of money. Tell me, how should I punish you? However, it was afraid because it knew that this wretched girl in front of it had a dark heart. She would definitely think of a way to torture it. Was it you who caused the sudden seizure of the crossbow? Yun Chuzhou suddenly asked. Gowei Butsao quickly shook its leaves and admitted to it. It was delighted. It had done a meritorious deed. The girl might have spared it because of this matter. However, it never expected that Yun Chuzhou would point at it and scold, You idiot, do you think you have done a meritorious deed? Gowei Butsao was completely dumbfounded. What did she mean? Could it be that she had done something wrong? It's fine if you've angered the heaven-shocking crossbow, but why did you let it destroy so many spiritual artifacts? You're a prodigal. Those spiritual artifacts are all money. Gowei Butsao couldn't turn around. These spiritual artifacts belonged to the Qing family, not this wretched girl. Why was she so anxious? However, it quickly reacted. This damned girl was someone who would pluck feathers from a wild goose. If she helped the Qing family's eldest son get rid of the second son, she would definitely ask for some benefits. In a sense, this Qing family's spirit tool also belonged to her. After Gowei Butsao reacted, it hurriedly kowtowed and begged for mercy. After all, it didn't have any morals. As long as the damned girl calmed down, it would be fine. Yun Chuzhou snorted coldly. Don't give me that trick. On the one hand, you're showing me your heart, and on the other hand, you're hiding a small treasury behind my back. You scheming bastard. When this fellow said this, he couldn't help but feel a little stifled. Her silly cuteness was all fame, but in reality, they were useless embroidered pillows. The most hateful thing was that each and every one of them looked silly, but in reality, they were all hiding their narrow-mindedness. It was really annoying. However, when she thought about it carefully, Goei Batsao had helped her a lot, although some of them did not help her much. But at least, it showed that this scheming grass still wanted to contribute. Thinking of this, Yun Chujo said lightly, "Forget it, I won't argue with you about what happened before. But if you continue to play tricks behind my back, I will definitely let you know what it means to be unable to live, unable to die." Goei Batsao quickly compared herself to her, only missing a long tail wagging behind her. Panda's novel, Kamsh did not think that Goei Batsao was a well-behaved person. It must have done something else. Goei Batsao felt that this was a good opportunity to take credit, but this fellow only realized after a while that it could not speak. It only felt sad. Just because it could not speak, it had missed so many good opportunities to take credit. Just because it could not speak, it could only watch as an idiot like Buttface forcefully became the #1 dumb and cute. Just because it could not speak, it had lost so many opportunities to talk to Xiao Mogu. The last sentence was pure nonsense. It did not think that way. Yun Chujo also remembered that this guy couldn't speak, but she had a good idea. "If you can't speak, you can write." "Write it," Yun Chujo raised her eyebrows and said. "I think you should take a look at Go Weiba, woo woo, it was illiterate." Seeing this, Yun Chujo mocked, "Tisk tsk, I forgot, you are an illiterate idiot." How pitiful. Goei Batsao was so angry that it wanted to slap Hei Shinjo away. However, it was just thinking about it. In the beginning, it still wanted to kill Yun Chujo and replace her. But now, it did not dare to, or rather, it did not want to. As for the reason why it did not want to do so, it did not want to think about it. After all, Go Weiba could do whatever it wanted to do. Why would it have so many reasons? Yun Chujo looked at Go Weiba, who was so angry that its leaves were about to fly away, and felt very happy. She rolled her eyes and said, "You don't know how to write or draw, right? Draw it for me to see." Goei Batsao was immediately delighted. That's right. It could draw it. Yun Chujo spread a piece of paper on the table. Goei Batsao dipped its leaves in ink and drew a room on the paper. Then, she drew an old man who was trapped in a chain. "You drew Qing Haotian? Did you see him?" Yun Chujo asked in surprise. Go Weiba proudly shook its leaves. Now that it had mastered the skill of drawing, it could still learn to read in the future. The opportunity for Go Weiba to make a name for itself had finally arrived. Whatever but face, Hun Dun, curly hair, or Xiao Hanyo were all no match for it. They had to submit to Go Weiba. Ha ha ha. This fellow was really too proud of itself. As it was not a real entity, the ink on the leaves seemed to be floating, but it was supported by spiritual power. With such a show-off, all the ink was thrown onto Yun Chuji's clothes and face. Chapter 5286, Goei Batsao. Yun Chujo squeezed out 2 words from between her teeth. "Goei Batsao, you're courting death." Goei Batsao finally fully understood the meaning of the idiom, "Extreme joy begets sorrow." It was sent flying by Yun Chuji's slap. And that was not all. It was kicked a few more times and scolded dozens of times. Goei Batsao did not have much spiritual energy left, but after this torment, it immediately dissipated. Yun Chujo snorted coldly, "What? Are you playing the little treasury trick again? Get out here." The strange grass in her dantian wanted to cry, but no tears came out. This time, it had really dissipated. Where was the little treasury? This was the price of lying. After lying once, no one would believe what she said later. However, this fellow was puzzled. This stupid girl treated lying as food all day long, so how could she still deceive others? Did those people not have brains? In the end, it was because it was not good at lying. Unlike this stupid girl, she was a drama queen. Although this guy was cursing in his heart, he kept acting cute on the surface. The black bead and the great void mirror in his dantian could not bear to look at him. It was really embarrassing to live with such a lackey. Yun Chujo washed her face and changed her clothes. She glared at Guai Chao fiercely and then let it out. Gowei Butsao immediately flew to the table. After comparing her feelings, she continued to draw. She drew a person beside the bed, but she did not know how to describe the person as Qing Shaocheng. Fortunately, Yun Chujo guessed, "You drew Qing Shaocheng later." Guai Chao hurriedly shook its leaves to express its agreement. In its heart, it thought, "This stupid girl is really smart. She is simply not a human, but a pervert." Yun Chujo rolled her eyes. Why did Qing Shaocheng go to see Qing Haotian? Did he threaten him to pass the position of family head to him? Go Weiba shook its leaves to show that she was right. Yun Chujo thought for a moment and said, "Draw the arrangement of the guards outside." Go Wei Butsao immediately buried its head in drawing and finished drawing after a while. Yun Chujo was already unable to complain about Go Wei Bakao's drawing skills. Fortunately, she was smarter and could barely see what it was drawing. Gowei Butsao saw that Yun Chujo was pondering over the matter and started to think of little Jiao in its heart. It had to think of a way to make the smelly girl be willing to let it out for a walk, or else it would suffocate in its dantian. However, what method could it think of? Before it could think of a way, it heard Yun Chujo say, "Turn into the smallest form, let me see." It did not know what kind of medicine Yun Chujo was selling, but the Gowei Butsao still shrunk to the size of a pinky. Yun Chujo cursed in her heart. No wonder she did not find this scheming grass before. If she did not pay special attention, it would indeed be difficult to notice. In the future, she could use it to investigate or pass on information. However, this fellow was a little unreliable and could easily get carried away. It was better to think about it first. However, this scheming grass was very secretive. It was better to calm her down a little so that she would not cause any trouble again. Hence, she said, "Go Weiba, I cannot confiscate your little treasury. I can also let you out from time to time to replenish your little treasury." Go Wei Butsao felt that she was hallucinating. Why was this wretched girl so kind? There was a conspiracy. There must be a big conspiracy. Yun Chujo saw its trembling appearance and could not help but laugh. She continued, "However, without my permission, you cannot act on your own. Otherwise, I will not forgive you." Although Gowei Butsao felt that this matter was like a dream, it still agreed without hesitation. What a joke! It was not a stupid plant, so it naturally would not reject such a good thing. Seeing that Gowei Butsao agreed, Yun Chujo did not bother with it anymore. Instead, she sat on the chair and pondered over the matter. Gowei Butsao did not dare to move at first. Later, when she saw that Yun Chujo did not seem to have any intention of doing anything to it, it started to let loose. Previously, it was afraid of being discovered by Yun Chujo, so it had always been sneaky. But now, it was different. Gowei Butsao had crossed the bright road. Gowei Butsao was no longer a black grass without status. This fellow began to jump up and down in the house. It did not even know how to show off. Yun Chujo occasionally glanced at it, feeling puzzled. How was this grass? It was simply a madman. There was no time to stop. After the silly cuties saw this scene through Yun Chujia's spiritual sense, they each had their own thoughts. Among them, two were the most indignant. One was Butt Face, and the other was Buddha's Candle. These two fellows had been fighting openly and secretly, both wanting to fight for the throne of the number one spiritual pet. Now, a Gowei Butsao had appeared. How hateful! Most importantly, this Gowei Butsao had a huge advantage over them, and that was that it was not afraid of death. Because it was only a spiritual beast, its main body was in Yun Chujia's dantian, so even if they wanted to take care of it, they could not do anything about it. However, it was a man's work. It was still okay to complain about it for no reason. After all, that stupid grass could not speak. Go-Wei Butsao completely did not know that it had become a target for arrows. Of course, even if this fellow knew, he would not take it to heart. What a joke. Once Go-Wei Butsao appeared, who would be able to compete with it? Those idiots could not be compared to it at all. The number one throne was destined to be Go-Wei Bukao's. Putting everything else aside, it had already occupied the smelly girl's dantian long ago. Who could compete with it? Moreover, the love-hate relationship between it and the smelly girl could already be written in several storybooks. Those idiots still wanted to compete with it. I think you should take a look at if it wasn't for the fact that it couldn't speak, how would they be able to show off? It was really shameless. Not to mention them, even Di Biming, that malignant star, was ranked behind it. It was the first to know this smelly girl. Go-Wei Butsao was showing off for a while. When it saw that Yun Chujio was reading the script, it shamelessly went up to her. Yun Chujio's heart moved. Why not teach it to know more words so that it would not have to communicate with it in the future? Hence, Yun Chujio took out a pen and paper and began to teach Go-Wei Butsao how to read. When Buttface and Buddha's candle saw this, they became even more envious. However, they had no choice but to stare at it. However, they soon rolled around happily. The reason was simple. Although Go-Wei Butsao was very observant, it was really stupid when it came to literacy. Yun Chujio had just taught it, but it had forgotten about it as soon as it turned its head. The words it had written had lost its limbs, and it had almost angered Hei Xinjiu to death. After teaching it for 4 hours, Go-Wei Butsao had only learned one word, yes, one. Yun Chujio, Panda's novel, this fellow comforted himself. Grass wasn't perfect. A grass as handsome, powerful, and smart as it was, one flaw was nothing. Learning one word a day, it could learn more than 300 words a year. Take it slow. It is not in a hurry to write love letters, what is the hurry? Anyway, it and Xiao Mogu or baby. When the Go-Wei Butsao thought of Xiao Mogu, its leaves immediately curled up. It was simply spouting nonsense just now, it did not think that way at all. This fellow looked at Yun Chujio guiltily, and then realized that although it could understand Yun Chujio's thoughts, Yun Chujio could not pry into its thoughts. It immediately had a sense of superiority. TSK, no matter how perverted this girl was, she could not do anything to it. Although Yun Chujio could not read the thoughts of the Guai Chao, she could still feel its emotions and felt that it was very smug. It was funny in her heart. Where did a lousy Guai Chao get the courage to be smug? The next morning, the ancestor of the Lan family called Yun Chujio over. Qing Yuanda has sent news that he has already met Qing Haotian, said the patriarch of the Lan family. What's the situation? Does Qing Haotian still have a trump card? Yun Chujio asked hurriedly. He does have one, but it's very limited. There are only 100 elite guards. It was estimated that Qing Haotian had not let those people make any moves for a long time. Firstly, Qing Shaoqing had threatened the lives of the people from the big house. Secondly, there were too few people, so Qing Haotian did not dare to act rashly. Indeed, more than 100 people were not enough. The Qing residents had 400 to 500 guards on the surface, so there was no chance of winning. Since the second branch of the Qing family is not going to attack us for the time being, why don't we leave? The ancestor of the Lan family said with a sigh. Yun Chujio naturally did not want to leave. If nothing else, she could not ignore Qing Sis' life and death. She blinked her eyes and said, Ancestor, although more than 100 people are indeed a little small, didn't we bring a few hundred people? Moreover, your cultivation is much stronger than Qing Shecheng's. As long as you take him down and Qing Haotian appears, the subordinates of the second branch will abandon the dark side and join the light. The old ancestor of the Lan family was actually very conflicted. If Qing Shaoqing completely took control of the Qing family, it would not be good news for the Lan family. I think you should take a look at. He pondered for a moment and asked, do you have any good ideas? Yun Chujio did not say anything but laughed. The ancestor of the Lan family and elder Tuo saw her sinister smile and could not help but shiver. This troublemaker was going to play dirty again. Let's create a diversion and fish in troubled waters. Tonight, I will think of a way to set a few fires in the Qing mansion and let Qing Yuanda bring more than 100 elites to save Qing Haoyan. When the time comes, Qing Shaoqing will definitely lead his men to stop them. Well, send a mantis to catch the cicada and a oriole to catch the oriole behind. You and old Tuo will work together to take down Qing Shaoqing. As long as we take down Qing Shaoqing, the rest of the matter will be much easier to handle, Yun Chuzhou said with a smile. What you said is also feasible. However, Qing Mansion is heavily guarded. I'm afraid it won't be easy to set a fire right under their noses, the old ancestor said with a frown. Seeing that she had a plan in mind, the Lan family's old ancestor agreed to her plan. The three of them discussed the details before Yun Chuzhou returned to her courtyard. She rested up and waited for night to come. When night fell, Yun Chuzhou released a small flame. For a small flame, setting a few fires was simply too easy. Yun Chuzhou told the small flame to set a fire at a place that was quite far away. Moreover, they were very scattered. This way, the guards of the Qing residence would be scattered and it would be easier to carry out their tasks. Soon, the Qing mansion was in chaos. In the darkness of the night, many flames soared into the sky. Qing Shaoqing was shocked and angry. He quickly sent people to put out the fire. However, he soon realized that something was wrong. He immediately rushed to the Qingfeng garden where Qing Haoyan was imprisoned without caring about anything else. The three ancestors of the Lan family followed them from afar. At this time, the Qing mansion was in chaos, so no one stopped them. When Qing Shaoqing arrived at Qingfeng garden, Qing Yuanda and his men had already started fighting with the guards. When Qing Shaoqing saw that the leader was Qing Yuanda and there was no one else, he immediately felt relieved. A mere Qing Yuanda could not stir up a storm at all. He shouted coldly, "Stop! Yuanda, are you crazy? Do you not care about the life and death of the entire house? Moreover, with just a few people like you, do you think you can contend with me?" Qing Yuanda naturally would not listen to him. Today, he had already given up everything. He only had one chance. If he did not succeed, he would die. A cold smile appeared on Qing Shaoqing's face. He was about to step forward and take down Qing Yuanda, but he felt a murderous aura coming from behind him. He subconsciously dodged to the side. He did not expect that for some reason, his feet would go soft. He actually tripped himself and became a dog gnawing mud. Therefore, the Lan family's ancestor and elder Tuo did not expend any effort to control Qing Shaoqing. Both of them were a little dumbfounded. Although their cultivation was much higher than Qing Shaoqing's, wasn't this too easy? Not to mention other things, Qing Shaoqing must have many good life-saving things on him, but he did not activate any of them. How would they know that Qing Shaoqing was caught off guard and fell? For a moment, he did not care about activating the spiritual weapon, and was caught just like that. As for the reason why Qing Shaoqing fell, it was naturally the curse of the Xiao Hanyo. "I think you should take a look at the Xiao Hanyo," glanced at Butt-Face and Hun Dun, who was wearing a green sweater, with a hint of pride. It didn't want to participate in the usual jealousy. Pandas novel. Calm, not to mention other things, its curse skill was the little girl's life-saving trump card. At any time, the little girl wouldn't treat it unfairly. It disdained to participate in those childish pet fighting games. Sitting on the mountain and watching the tiger fight was where its fun lay. Once Qing Shaoqing was captured, the situation completely changed. Qing Yuanda said loudly, "The culprit is now under control. Seeing that you are only bewitched by Qing Shaoqing, as long as you stop now and let bygones be bygones, or else we will kill without mercy." Although Qing Yuanda was a generation younger than Qing Shaoqing, he was still the head of the big house. With this shout, his power was still there. Immediately, the guards began to hesitate. Yun Chuzhou echoed with a clear voice, the internal strife of the Qing family has nothing to do with you. Why do you have to die in vain? To tell you the truth, not only are there 5,000 guards of the Lan family outside Fog Valley City, but there are also 5,000 men of the Zen sect. If you resist stubbornly, you will only die. Some of the guards did not like the fact that Qing Shaoqing had imprisoned their father and harmed their relatives, so they immediately retreated to the side. When the others saw this, they also retreated to the side. Although there were still a few direct descendants of Qing Shaoqing, they did not dare to act rashly since Qing Shaoqing was in the hands of the Lan family's patriarch. Qing Yuanda cupped his fists gratefully at the Lan family's patriarch and then led his men into the house. After cutting off the chains and feeding Qing Haoyan some elixirs, he helped Qing Haoyan out of the house. Qing Haoyan did not expect to see the light of day again. He could not help but cry. However, he was the leader of the Qing family after all. After a short sigh, he regained his calm. He bowed to the Lan family's patriarch with great difficulty. Senior Lan, I will thank you after I clean up the Qing family's mess. The Lan family's patriarch nodded. No worries. At this moment, Qing Yuankui arrived with his men. When he saw that Qing Shaoqing had been captured, his face turned pale with fright. Qing Haoyan shouted angrily, evil creature. Hurry up and surrender. Qing Shaoqing was the backbone of the second branch. Now that he had been captured, Qing Yuankui had no idea what to do. He didn't know what to do at the moment. He weighed his options and knelt on the ground. Grandfather, I was forced by my father. I don't want to do this either. This was all father's idea. Please spare me. Qing Shaoqing almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Was this retribution? He had imprisoned his father, but now he was abandoned by his own son. This was really retribution. Qing Haoyan did not say much. Instead, he had people control Qing Yuankui. Once Qing Shaoqing and Qing Yuankui were captured, things became much easier. Before dawn, Qing Haoyan had already regained control of the Qing family. Whether it was Qing Haoyan or Qing Yuanda, they all felt that this was like a dream. How could it be so easy? In the end, first of all, Qing Shaoqing had underestimated the enemy. He did not expect that the ancestor of the Lan family would actually help the chief branch. The most important thing now was to interrogate Qing Shaoqing and his son. At the very least, they had to make him hand over the antidote of the eldest branch's people. I think you should take a look at Qing Shaoqing sneered, I admit defeat. However, don't even think about the antidote. I can't get better, and neither can you. Qing Haoyan was so angry that he wanted to slap him to death. In the end, it was Qing Yuankui who confessed that the bitter Zen sect gave them the poison. They only had pills to temporarily control the pain and did not have the antidote. Qing Haoyan looked at Defang, who was so stupid and disabled that even Qing Yuanda would cough from time to time. He could not help but burst into tears. This was the fate of the Qing family. For a moment, the Qing family was once again in a miserable state. Yun Chuzhou felt that it was time for her to make a move. Therefore, this guy, tactfully, said to Qing Haoyan, Senior Qing, I can try to detoxify them, but the antidote is very expensive, and it takes a lot of time and effort to refine. If it's not done well, I might even have to bear the risk of exploding the furnace. Qing Haoyan immediately understood what she meant. Was this little girl negotiating conditions? He immediately agreed. As long as Yun Chuzhou could detoxify the people of the main branch, any conditions would be met. Yun Chuzhou fulfilled her wish and immediately went to the main branch. This guy had the Guai Chao in his hand. Although there were some communication difficulties, he still spent a few days to prepare the antidote. Gowei Butsao had made another contribution. He did not know how to show off. But Face and Buddha's candle were so angry that they were even more jealous of this guy. Qing Haoyan fulfilled his promise. Not only did he sell a batch of spiritual artifacts to the Lan family at an extremely favorable price, but he also gave Yunchujo 3 top-tier flying spiritual artifacts and several defensive spiritual artifacts. After the Qing family's matter was settled, the Lan family's ancestor did not plan to stay any longer. After all, he had been out for some time, so he bid his farewell. Qing Haotian tried his best to persuade her to stay, but seeing that the ancestor of the Lan family had made up his mind, he had no choice but to agree. Before she left, Qing Si came to see Yunchujo. "Little Jiu, thank you for what happened this time," Qing Si said and was about to kneel down. "Miss Qing Si, what are you doing? We are sisters, there's no need to talk about this. By the way, how did Master Qing punish the second branch?" Yunchujo quickly supported her and changed the topic. Qing Shaocheng and Qing Yuankue were crippled by their great-grandfather and imprisoned. The rest were expelled from the ancestral house after being tortured and demoted to a branch. Yunchujo shook her head in her heart. This Qing Haotian was too merciful. The old fox's way of doing things was more suitable for controlling a large family. Just as she was thinking about it, she realized that Qing Si wanted to say something, but she hesitated. "Miss Qing Si, what do you want to say?" Yunchujo asked in confusion. Qing Si gritted her teeth and said, "I think that if we don't get rid of the weeds, there will be trouble in the future, so I plan to kill Qing Shaocheng and Qing Yuankue behind my great-grandfather's back. As for the other people in the second branch, they are nothing to be afraid of, but we have to send people to monitor them at all times." Yunchujo's eyes lit up. "Oh my, Miss Qing Si has turned dark." However, this was also good. Otherwise, she would be at a disadvantage. Pandas Novel's Kami Yunchujo shook her head repeatedly. "No, you did the right thing. This is how it should be. Being merciful to the enemy is cruel to yourself." Qing Si smiled in relief. Both her great-grandfather and father were too kind, so she should be the villain. "I think you should take a look at." The two chatted for a while, and Yunchujo suddenly remembered something and said, "Miss Qing Si, since Xianji knows about your physique, he probably won't let it go. You must be careful." Qing Si nodded. Father also thought of this. "From now on, the Qing family of the Valley of Fog will strengthen our guards, and we won't easily see outsiders." Hearing this, Yunchujo felt relieved and left. The ancestor of the Lan family was in a good mood. Although the Qing family of the Valley of Fog would not openly fall out with the other 3 families in the future, they would definitely control the spiritual artifacts sold to them. In this way, the Lan family would have an advantage. The 3 of them brought their subordinates out of the Valley of Fog and met with a Master Lei of the Zen sect. The ancestor of the Lan family recounted what had happened and handed over the gift of thanks that Qing Haotian had entrusted to him to the Zen sect to Master Lei. Master Lei put his palms together and said, "Ba. I didn't expect that Xianji, as a monk, would have such lewd and evil thoughts. It's really disgraceful." Yunchujo rolled her eyes and said, "Master Lei, the bitter Zen sect will be a disaster sooner or later. Why don't we take the initiative to destroy them? Otherwise, they might cause some trouble again. We need to plan this matter carefully. I will report it to the sect master when I go back," said Master Lei. "By the way, Qing Si's physique is easy to cause trouble, so please don't let too many people know about this," Yunchujo pleaded. After Master Lei nodded and agreed, the two sides separated. The Guai Chao and Yunchujius Dantian suddenly remembered something. It was the thing that Qing Shaoqing used to threaten Qing Haotian at the back of the mountain, but she forgot to tell the stupid girl about it. Therefore, Goei Batsao found an opportunity to draw a picture. Hei Xinzhou took a long time to figure out what it meant. She did not take it to heart. Since it was a secret of the Qing family, she should not get involved. The journey was smooth. However, the closer they got to the imperial city, the darker the sky became and the faint sound of thunder could be heard. Hei Xinzhou immediately jumped up from her chair and looked into the distance through the observation window. She saw lightning and thunder in the distance. Judging from the direction, it was Mount Meru. This fellow was immediately enraged. All right. Damn Wu Yun. She actually wanted to take advantage of her absence to secretly strike lightning. She was really courting death. She immediately said to the Lan family's patriarch, Patriarch, I won't be returning to the imperial city with you for now. I'll make a trip to Mount Meru. The Lan family's patriarch knew that this fellow wanted to absorb lightning, so he did not stop her. He only gave her a few words of advice. It was nothing more than to pay attention to Yun Yun's safety. Yun Chujo quickly agreed. Then, she got off the flying spirit tool and sat on the chopping board as she headed straight for Mount Meru. This fellow was burning with anxiety. If she was too late, she would not be able to withstand the strike. The dark clouds floating above Mount Meru saw Yun Chujo from afar and trembled in fear. Oh no! The wretched girl who wanted to fish for the Yun wings was here. It could not be bothered to continue attacking Mount Meru and ran away. Yun Chujo was furious. She pulled her neck and shouted, Hey, wait a minute. Chop me a few times before you run away. Wu Yun did not dare to stop. What kind of joke was this? Nothing that this brat said was true. It would only stop if it was stupid. Seeing that Wu Yun was about to run away, Yun Chujo was so anxious that her forehead was covered in sweat. In a moment of desperation, she shouted, Wait. As long as you chop me a few times, I will return you a cloud wing. I promise to keep my word. If I lie, I will be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. Hearing that, Wu Yun ran even faster. Struck by lightning? You fucking want to be struck by lightning. I think you should take a look at so what you said must be a lie. Yun Chujo also realized that her oath seemed to be somewhat inappropriate, mainly because she was used to saying it. She hurriedly shouted, If I lie to you, let me drown in the water and burn to death. Wu Yun paused. Could it be that what the brat said this time was true? When Yun Chujo saw that it had stopped, her heart immediately rejoiced. She said, I didn't lie to you. Think about it. There's no use for me to have Yun wings. Why don't I exchange them for a few bolts of lightning? Moreover, you can strike from a distance away from me. That way, you won't be afraid that I'll cheat you, right? Wu Yun was a little tempted. Previously, Yun Chujo had hooked a cloud wing away from it. If she could get it back, it would naturally be good. Besides, she was right. As long as he was far away, there would be no danger. Therefore, Wu Yun flew back. Yun Chujo quickly landed on the ground. She smiled like a playboy who was trying to trick a little girl. Come on, little boy. Chop me. Chop me to your heart's content. Wu Yun shivered in disgust at the word little boy. He hacked at Hei Xinjiu with all the remaining power of lightning. Hei Xinjiu did not expect Wu Yun to do that. When she saw the thick lightning, she wanted to dodge it. However, the lightning did not come easily. If she managed to dodge it, she did not know when she would be struck again. Therefore, she made up her mind and was struck by the lightning without dodging. After a loud explosion, a deep pit with black smoke appeared on the ground. Wu Yun in the sky was waiting happily for Yun Chujo to return the cloud wings to it. However, after waiting for a while, Yun Chujo still did not climb out of the pit. It could not help but feel happy. Could it be that it had accidentally killed that stupid girl? Wu Yun waited for a while more. When he saw that there was still no movement in the pit, he could not care about Yuni anymore. He hopped away happily. Ha! Panda's novel Come had struck Wu Yun's nemesis, the killer of heavenly thunder, that scourge to death. In the deep pit, Yun Chujo was lying quietly. Her body was covered in scorched soil. Her hair and eyebrows had turned into ashes. Her clothes had also turned into ashes. Fortunately, there was still soil covering her body. Otherwise, she would have been completely exposed. If someone else saw it, they would definitely think that there was a dead person lying in the pit because she was not breathing at all. Of course, nobody would have seen Hei Xinjie floating on top of her. Hei Xinjie was dumbfounded. Why was she struck so hard that her soul left her body? Did she die just like that? She comforted herself that she might have gone into shock because she was struck too hard just now. She would probably recover soon. However, from dusk until nightfall, and from nightfall until the sun rose slowly, her body still showed no signs of waking up. Pandas novel. Hei Xinjie wanted to cry, but no tears came out. If she had known this would happen, she would have rather wasted that heavenly thunder. At least, it would not have turned out like this. It was really not worth it. However, it was useless to regret. Things had already happened. Just as this fellow was feeling vexed, she heard the sound of chaotic footsteps from afar. Her heart tightened. The Lan family must have found her. She was not wearing any clothes now. If she was seen, it would be terrible. In a moment of desperation, she tried to communicate with Guai Chao. Needless to say, she had established a connection with Guai Chao. Yun Chuzhou was puzzled. Why could she establish a connection with Guai Chao even though she could not communicate with other dumb cuties? This question flashed across her mind. Now was not the time to think about it. She quickly let Guai Chao take over her body and let it bury her in the soil. Go Weiba, ask someone to throw you a set of clothes and put them on later. I think you should take a look at him warning you, put on your clothes with your eyes closed, or he'll kill you. Yun Chuzhou warned. Go Wei Butsao obediently agreed, but in its heart, it cursed, "Pah. You've become a drifter, and you still dare to threaten me? If I'm unhappy, it'll make you run for your life." Of course, this fellow was only thinking about it, he didn't dare. The people who came were not only the guards of the Lan family, but also Yun Chujie's own guards. The reason was very simple. Leng Yun had been paying attention to the movements of the Lan family. When he heard that Yun Chuzhou hadn't returned all night, he quickly rushed over with his men. Go Weiba followed Yun Chujie's instructions and shouted at the top of his lungs, "Leng Yun, throw me a set of clean clothes, all of you stay away." Leng Yun, did his master forget that there was a storage ring? Or was there no clothes in his master's storage ring? Go Wei Butsao closed his eyes and put the clothes that Leng Yun threw on his body. Then he shouted, "Leng Yun, come down and bring me up." Leng Yun didn't think much about it. He thought that his master must have been seriously injured, so he couldn't come up. Therefore, he went into the deep pit and carried Yun Chuzhou up. The light in the pit was dim, so Leng Yun did not pay much attention to it. When he reached the top, he realized that his master was wearing his clothes, on the wrong side. Also, where were his master's hair and eyebrows? Yun Chuzhou was so angry when she saw her stupid look. This damn dog tail, could it be that Go Weiba did not even know how to wear clothes? Go Weiba cursed in his heart, the baby did not wear clothes, can wear good enough. Although Leng Yun had many questions in his heart, he did not dare to ask too much. He said, "Miss, are we returning to the city now? Are you stupid? If not, where are we going?" Go Wei Butsao curled his lips and said. Leng Yun choked on his words and hurriedly said, "Yes, this subordinate is slow. Miss, please." Go Wei Butsao snorted and then moved forward, and jumped. Everyone looked at Yun Chuzhou, who was desperately swinging her arms and jumping forward. They were all dumbfounded. Was her brain damaged by the lightning? Yun Chuzhou was so angry that she was about to puke. Go Weiba. You idiot. You are a human now, not a grass. You better walk properly. Go Weiba did not expect Yun Chuzhou to suddenly make a sound. It was frightened by her and fell to the ground with a thud. Yun Chuzhou felt that she had most likely never been so embarrassed in her life. This Go Weiba was really a piece of shit. Go Wei Butsao sensed her thoughts and cursed in its heart, "Pah. You are the shit." Your whole family is a piece of shit. Go Weiba was a world-shaking hero, not some piece of shit. In order to take revenge on He Xinjiu, this guy deliberately tripped his left leg and right leg when he got up and fell again. Yun Chujiu was so angry that she wished she could strangle Go Weibatsao to death. She said coldly, Go Weibatsao, if you continue to act like a demon, you will never see Xiao Mogu again. Go Weibatsao immediately cowered, and a fawning expression appeared on her face. Yun Chujiu saw the fawning expression on her face and felt extremely stifled. Alright, pretend to faint now. Don't embarrass yourself here. Yun Chujiu said to Go Weibatsao. Go Weibatsao had no choice but to unwillingly fall to the ground and pretend to faint. Leng Yun was shocked and hurriedly used the soft couch to carry Yun Chujiu as they ran towards the imperial city. I think you should take a look at Go Weibatsao lay on the soft couch and secretly opened its eyes to look at the scenery from time to time. This fellow felt that possessing the smelly girl's body was not bad. At the very least, it could eat a lot of medicinal herbs and jump around. It was just that it could not use the smelly girl's spiritual power. Otherwise, it could release Xiao Mogu to cultivate its feelings. Yun Chujiu looked at the shifty-eyed herself and felt the malicious intent of the heavens. What did she do wrong to suffer such inhuman torture? However, no matter what, she had to be thankful for the Guai Chao. Otherwise, she would have to run away. Moreover, if she remained unconscious, the old fox of the Lan family's ancestor might give up on her and use her to exchange for benefits with the divine devil hall. It was not that she thought too badly of people, but that sometimes human nature could not stand the test. Although Go Weibatsao was a little out of place, as long as she stayed in her room, there should not be any problems for a short period of time. Perhaps, she could return to her body in a few days. At this moment, Leng Yun, who was carrying the limp body, felt a little complicated. He was not blind, so he naturally saw Yun Chujiu opening her eyes from time to look around. He thought to himself, it seemed that her master's brain had really been struck by lightning. Otherwise, why would he act so strangely? He looked like a fool. Pandas novel. Come after everyone entered the imperial city, Go Weiba could not stay idle anymore. It had always wanted to stroll around the market, and finally, it had an opportunity. It could not miss this good opportunity. Perhaps that stinky girl would quickly return to normal, and when that time came, it would not have a chance. Thus, Leng Yun watched helplessly as his master rolled from the soft couch to the ground. Then, he got up, swung his arms, and jumped into the medicinal herb shop next to him. As it was early in the morning, there were only a few customers in the herb shop. Pandas novels comment this Miss Yun. How did she become bald? It was one thing for her to become bald, but why was her face covered in mud? And why was she wearing her clothes inside out? What surprised them the most was that Miss Yun's walking posture was so strange. Why did she swing her arms so hard? He Xinjiu, who was floating behind Go Weibatsao, was so angry that she was about to explode. This damn Go Weibatsao. However, no matter how she cursed, Go Weibatsao seemed to not hear her. It jumped in front of the shopkeeper and said, I want all herbs above the earth grade. Although the shopkeeper felt that Yun Chujiu was a little strange, he didn't have any reason to push the sale out of the door. He immediately smiled apologetically and said, I'll put it away for you right away. After a while, the shopkeeper took out a storage ring and handed it to Go Weibatsao. Miss Yun, the herbs you want are all inside. I'll wipe the change for you. It's a total of 50 million upper-grade spirit stones. Go Weibatsao suddenly remembered that it had to pay for the items, but it couldn't open Yun Chujiu's storage ring. What should it do? This guy looked at Leng Yun. What are you waiting for? Pay. Leng Yun, he was only a small team leader, how could he have so much money? However, seeing that Go Weibatsao didn't look like he was joking, he had no choice but to force his men to gather the money. It wasn't easy for him to gather 50 million upper-grade spirit stones. Everyone felt aggrieved. Well, they did not receive a month's salary, but they had put all their wealth into it. I think you should take a look at Leng Yun even suspected that his master was deliberately pretending to be crazy to plunder their wealth. Go Wei Baocao held the storage ring and said happily, let's go back to the mansion. Leng Yun saw that it was holding the storage ring with its hand but did not put it into his own storage ring. He could not help but feel even more puzzled. He forced himself to ask, Miss, why don't you put these herbs into your storage ring? Yun Chujiu, who was floating behind them, deliberately did not say anything. She wanted to see how Go Weibao would answer. Sigh. I was struck by lightning, so I can't use my spiritual power for the time being. It will be fine in a few days. Go Wei Baocao sighed. Yun Chujiu, damn it, this scheming grass was getting more and more sophisticated. Leng Yun heard this and suddenly realized. No wonder his master was so strange. So that was it. Go Wei Baocao originally wanted to walk around on the street, but it was in a hurry to go back and eat those herbs, so it lay back on the soft bed and was carried back to the Lan family's third house. Hong Ling and the other two were shocked when they saw Go Wei Baocao. How did my miss become like this? After Leng Yun and the others left, Go Wei Baocao pointed at Hong Ling, come in with me. Hong Ling felt that the way her lady spoke was different from usual. However, she did not think too much about it and followed Go Wei Baocao into the house. Take out the medicinal herbs in this ring, Go Wei Baocao said anxiously. Hong Ling was stunned. Why did she have to take them out? Why didn't lady take them out herself? However, she did not dare to say anything. However, when she saw the number of medicinal herbs in the storage ring, she asked uncertainly, Lady, take out all the medicinal herbs in this ring? Go Wei Baocao nodded. Take them out. What a joke. If he didn't take them out, how could he eat them? Chapter 5296 The baby doesn't want to talk to you. Hong Ling braced herself and took out all the medicinal herbs in her storage ring. She stuffed Yun Chujia's house full, leaving only the bed and a narrow corridor without any medicinal herbs. Go Wei Baocao was so happy that it was about to bloom. That smelly girl never let it eat its fill. Now, it could finally eat enough. As expected, it was better to beg others than to beg oneself. It was better to do it yourself in order to have enough food and clothing. Hong Ling saw the fervent gaze of Go Wei Baocao and was even more puzzled. Why did it become so strange for her miss to go out? She saw the mud on Yun Chujia's face and the man's clothes that were full of dust and said, Miss, I will prepare a bath for you. Would you like to take a bath? Go Weibao waved his hands repeatedly. No, this is good. Hong Ling, are you sure this is good? Her face was dirty, her clothes were dirty, and she was wearing them inside out. How was it good? Although Hong Ling did not agree, she did not dare to say too much. She turned around and closed the door. Go Wei Baocao saw that Hong Ling had gone out, grabbed a handful of herbs and stuffed them into her mouth. She felt like she was living like a god. Yun Chujiu looked at Go Wei Baocao who was gobbling down the herbs and was so angry that she was twitching. She scolded, Go Wei Baocao, you imbecile. Just you wait. Go Wei Baocao originally did not want to bother with Yun Chujiu, but thinking about it, it was not easy for it to use her body to speak, so why not vent its anger? So, after swallowing a handful of herbs, it said, HMPH. Do you know how much help I have secretly helped you? Let's not talk about the distant ones, let's talk about the near ones. In the 10,000-year-old swamp, if it was not for me, would those blue demonic insects have obediently let you go? Also, during the 10,000 Buddha Dharma assembly, if it weren't for my help, why would Yuan Ji shoot himself to death for no reason? You only know how to scold me all day long. What did I do wrong? Yun Chujiu looked at its confident manner and was amused. Go Weiba, that's good. You're very wronged, aren't you? Go Weiba snorted, of course, I'm so wronged. Yun Chujiu sneered, since you're arguing with me, then I'll talk to you properly. Let's put other things aside. What do you say if you come and occupy my dantian uninvited? Go Wei Baocao blinked guiltily, I still want to eat grass. I don't want to talk to you. Yun Chujo saw that it looked like a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water, so she was too lazy to talk nonsense with it. She wondered what was going on. She had encountered similar situations twice before. One time, it was because Go Weiba had forcefully taken over her body, and the other time, it was under the ghost city in the desert of death. However, this time was obviously different from the previous 2 times. This time, it was definitely not Go Weiba doing, and it was not caused by the environment. Moreover, in the past, she had been struck by lightning until she was half dead. At most, her tendons and veins were torn apart. There had never been such a situation where her soul had left her body. Yun Chujo suddenly had a thought. No, there was another similar situation. When she entered the ghost realm, her body was left in a secret room while her primordial spirit followed the murderous aura into the ghost realm. Could it be that the incident this time was related to the murderous aura? Speaking of which, the murderous aura had not moved for a long time. Could it be that it was going to play some tricks again? Yun Chujo told Goei Butsao her guess, not because she trusted it, but because she could only tell it now. Goei Butsao was busy eating the herbs and said absent-mindedly, "Anyway, those drifters won't harm you." "What are you afraid of? How do you know they won't harm me?" Yun Chujo raised her eyebrows and asked. Goei Butsao choked and said, "If they wanted to harm you, they would have done it long ago. Why would they wait until now?" Although Goei Butsao spoke as if it was serious, Yun Chujo felt that it was not telling the truth. Only then did she realize that although this scheming grass had long been in her dantian, up until now, she still did not know what it was. Demonic plant? She had never heard of anyone who could separate a spiritual beast from a demonic plant. Spiritual beast? And no one had ever heard of a spiritual beast being able to grow in its dantian. Moreover, she felt that although this fellow was a bad student, he seemed to know quite a lot of things. What exactly was this thing? Yun Chujo thought of this and asked, "Go Weiba, tell me the truth. What exactly are you?" Goei Butsao swallowed the herb in its mouth and said confidently, "I'm not a thing." Yun Chujo, you are indeed not a thing. You damn dog tail. Go Weiba. Goei Butsao did not know what it had said wrong and continued to stuff the herbs in its mouth. Yun Chujo cursed a few times before saying, "What I mean is, you are a spirit plant, right? Then what kind of spirit plant are you? Why haven't I read about you in the ancient books?" When Goei Butsao heard this, it immediately straightened its back and said, "This baby is the world's most powerful grass, Goei Butsao. This damn scheming grass." It was as if she didn't say anything. "I think you should take a look at." She rolled her eyes. She didn't believe that she couldn't beat a grass. Hence, she curled her lips and said, "I know. It must be because your species is very low, so you're too embarrassed to say it." Goei Butsao was immediately unhappy. Who was calling low? You are the low one. You and Di Baiming are a pair of bitches. Of course, this fellow still had a trace of rationality and did not say it out loud. It curled its lips and said, "You don't have to trick the baby. In short, you should treat me better in the future and not suffer any losses. Otherwise, HMPH. Yun Chujo rolled her eyes and sighed. Sigh, Go Weiba, you're being a little heartless when you say that. Am I not treating you well? When I met the poison that you like, which time did I not help you drink it? When I met the medicinal herbs and pills that you like, which time did I not feed it to you? Even when you secretly saved up money, didn't I not punish you? Most importantly, you occupied my dantian. How do you expect me to treat you well?" Goei Butsao immediately felt a little guilty. After thinking about it carefully, other than scolding it for no reason, this stinky girl seemed to treat it quite well. All right. You barely treat me well. But don't worry. In the future, all of this will pay off. You being chosen by me, Goei Butsao, is a great honor for you. Go away, Butsao said smugly. Yun Chujo cursed in her heart. Bah! Shameless. A great honor. It would be a great trouble. Yun Chujo knew that she couldn't get Go-wei Bakao's identity. She changed the topic and asked, "Oh right, where did you take De Hua?" Go-wei Butsao said innocently, "How would I know where that idiot went? It is your spiritual beast, not mine." Yun Chujo frowned. Although Go-wei Butsao said it confidently, she somehow felt that De Hua's disappearance was related to it. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.